Hi everyone, it's Lori of Mischievous Stitches. It is Saturday, July the 22nd, and I am back again today with a couch full of goodies to show you. But most of all, I want to show you my most recent finish. I finished my Windowsill of Heaven piece. Finished it up last night. I know you can see in the bottom right hand corner the staining that I talked about in a previous video. I do plan to stain this a little more. I wanted to finish it up. See how it looked finished before I decided whether or not to do additional staining, and I do plan to do that. And so hopefully maybe next weekend I'll come back with a to be able to show you the staining and how that turned out. Today when I got up, Natasha Stitcherella, my friend Pam, as well as Paula, we took off to Columbia, South Carolina. The Quilt Guild of South Carolina was holding a quilting expo in Columbia, and we took off to spend the day and see what they had to offer. There were around 25 vendors there. We walked right in. The vendors were set up on the perimeter, so three sides of the room that we were in, and down the center there were quilts to be judged. And they were being judged by us, those that were attending the expo. So we took our time, visited all the vendors, took a look at the quilts, talked about which ones we liked most, of course cast our vote. But I came home with a few goodies, and I thought I would share those with you today. I know they're not cross stitch, but I know often I love to see people's knitting and what they're crocheting, and it's needlework. Quilting is needlework. I didn't get quilting, I got wool, and it's a wool applique kit, and this is it. It's by a company called Buttermilk Basin, and of course it's a table runner, so this I will do this twice, once on each end of the table runner, and these are the wool fabrics that I will be using to cut out the letters and the shapes to applique on the fabric. I've only done one other wool piece, and I brought it up here with me today. I bought this from Shakerwood Woolens, which is they do have an online shop. They're based out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, and it's a pincushion. It's just an owl, and I found it much more, starting something new is intimidating, but I found it much more easy than I thought it would be. So I did this up in a lot quicker than a cross stitch piece, but stitched this up. The kit had also come with crushed walnut shells to fill it in, because it is a pincushion as well as the backing fabric. And I love how it turned out. It's just the cutest thing. And I usually have it, I have a bowl that I had painted at one of the pottery shops here in town, and I usually keep it sitting in there. I also bought this pattern, and it is by someone you may be familiar with, Teresa Kogut. She has punch needle pieces, which is what this piece is, as well as cross stitch pieces. So this is the piece. It's called Liberty, and the picture once again just does not do it justice. Now this piece was actually punched up, was finished into a patriotic wall plaque and hanging on the wall of the booth, and so I picked that up as well. And this kit comes with the muslin. Punch needle is just what it sounds like. You're using a needle filled with thread, and you're punching it and making loops in the fabric. I kind of equate it to when you're coloring in a coloring book and you're trying to stay in the lines. So this is a piece of, is it weaver's cloth or fiddler's cloth? Fiddler's cloth. Weaver's cloth. And then they give you what needs to be traced onto it. So this is the actual size of the fiddler's cloth. But I'm going to give it a try. I have one punch needle piece that I have finished. I do enjoy it, so I do have the supplies to punch with. And it actually uses Wheat Style Works or DMC if you look on the back. So if you're not giving punch needle a try, you've already got the supplies there beside you, your DMC and your Wheat Style Works. So get your little cheap pattern, give it a try. I don't think you're going to be disappointed, because it is fun. I also picked up a pattern book by Leisure Arts, and I picked up the book just for this little guy right here. So I also picked up the wool pieces, and it called for a gray and a white, but I got these colors, so I went against the grain and got colors that suited me more. And I should get a few of those pin cushions, but I do plan to make a few, and I've got an idea of what to do with them. But there he is. I want to show you these spools. These are wool spools. Whoop! Wool thread spools. They're wooden. And I bought those to do that joy piece. But aren't those cute? You know, I can imagine these just sitting around here in the in my stitch room just as decor, because they're just, I find them pretty. Alright, so I've finished up my windowsill of heaven, and I had started on the 4th of July and worked on for just that day the American Quilt sampler piece. I've not done any more work. I'm not going to show it to you. I did show it in the last video. I'm just not feeling it. So I decided to pull out another whip. So I'm going to work on this. It's a piece that I started in 2009 at my local needlework shop. They had a stitch along on this piece. I got very little done, but this is it. Heirloom stitching sampler. It has some cut work, some hard angers, specialty stitches, over one, cross stitching, and this is what I got done. And it was a kit I bought from the shop. So why I was so far off the center. So I plan on flipping it over, starting again at the bottom, and going from there. I'll pull out what I have initially stitched. I'll take my time and pull a little out here and there. But this will be what I work on tonight. I'm planning on watching a little Flosstube. My son is with a friend. My husband will be home a little later, and so I'm going to spend the day enjoying it my way. So I'll be Flosstubing as well as stitching. So I'll enjoy myself. And the reason I'm waiting, only stitching on that through the 1st, is if you don't already know, Dina Half Stitch Cross Stitch has created an event for everyone to stitch this piece, and this is lavender and lace Nantucket Rose. This is the fabric that I chose. It's real wrinkled, but I chose that. I pulled it from my stash, and I'm going to be stitching it on this piece. I've got lots of hand-dyed pieces that are similar to this type of hand-dyed. She doesn't need any help. She is beautiful and speaks for herself. I didn't want the fabric to talk over her. So, just a plain color fabric. So I will be pulling the threads later this evening for this one as well. And on the 1st, I will be making a start. So if you don't already know about it, go check. I believe it's in Mania. I'll try to post a link below to the event page. But there are several within that group. I've seen several of you talking about it. But I will be participating in that event as well. And what else? I don't think I've got some pieces here. My daughter left on Tuesday for California. Her husband is a United States Marine, and he is stationed in California, and she went out to join him on Tuesday. So Tuesday evening, to help me get through my sadness, I eBayed my way through my sadness. I do not have much to show you because those pieces have not arrived yet, but I did order a few more of the Darlene O'Steen pieces that I talked to you about in my last video. I really like her pieces, and I am looking forward to stitching one of them soon. But as well as that, I got this piece in this week. I had showed this on Instagram about 2 weeks ago, actually the day that I had ordered it, And many others either said, I've got this and I want to stitch it, or oh, I'm going to go order that. So on Instagram, we will eventually, we have not decided on a start date because everyone is still ordering this piece and waiting for it to come in. But I know Emily of Eclectic Possessions, Farm Girl, Frankie Easter, Mama Joan, made by Mama Joan. There are a few others, and if I don't mention you here, please forgive me because my memory is like this long. But this is the piece, and it's Needles and Pins by Theron Traditions. And this is another designer that I have been looking at the past few weeks. Designer from the 90s. Had it going on. Darlene O'Steen, Theron Traditions, Words of Praise. Got it going on. So I have been, I don't know that you'd say collecting them because they're not, and I don't know whether it's because they're not in high demand or because there's so many of them still out there, because this one was still on sale as of last week on 1-2-3 Stitch, and because we had decided to do the stitch along and everyone was jumping on board, people were finding out it had been sold out. Now whether or not they can get more in, I can't answer that, but there are some on eBay. I actually bought mine off of eBay. So if you're interested and you're on Instagram, you want to pop over and give it a start with us, please do that. But like I said, we have not decided on an actual start date. I did get one of the Darlene O'Steen pieces in, and it is the Honeysuckle Sampler. I love this. It's by the Needles Praise, Darlene O'Steen. I first started trying to find her after watching Tash, the Star-Crossed Stitcher, her Mania post. She was working on a Praiseworthy Stitches piece, and I went out because I really liked it. I went out to try to find it and saw that there were many other beautiful pieces other than this one. And this is the first one I've gotten in, and I love the way, I don't know if you can tell there, that is not a mat around that piece. That piece is laying on top of the mat, so the edges are folded under, and it's probably whip stitched in the corners, and it's ironed, or maybe it's attached to a piece of foam core, I don't know. But I love that finishing. So instead of trying to stretch a piece and get all those lines correct, just get a piece of mat board, maybe a piece of foam core, lay the piece on there, get it straight, and just lay it down on the mat. I'm looking forward to trying that. So I have that. And I attended a stitch earlier in the month I had told you about, that it was hosted by the Sampler Guild of Georgia. And Natasha and I went up for the day. Yvonne was there as well as Emily. But I met a lady there. They were so very friendly and welcoming. There were ladies from the embroiderers, the local Embroiderers Guild chapter there, as well as the Sampler Guild. And they made sure to make their rounds, introduce themselves to us, welcome us, because it was hosted by the Sampler Guild. They welcomed us, invited us to join the guild. But there is one lady in particular, and I did not ask if I could mention her name there, but we had been talking since I left that stitch. She comments back and forth to me. She sent me a message this week and told me she would like to send me this book. She had a spare copy, and she knew that it would find a good home with me, and thank you very much. You are right. I love the book, but I want to share it with all of you. And for those that do not know, now we'll say Brian Blitzstitch actually mentioned this book to me this week, but it's by Darlene O'Steen, and it's called The Proper Stitch. This is like an encyclopedia of specialty stitches. So if you have any desire to learn specialty stitches, how to stitch them properly, this is the book for you. I'm just going to read you some of the stitch names just off of a few of the pages so you get an idea. There are diagrams for every single specialty stitch that they're talking to you about. This is just cross stitch and reverse cross stitch. Let me go a little further. I can't even say that one. Right stitch, diagonal right stitch, Smyrna cross, four-sided, arrowhead stitch, double back stitch variation, alternating back stitch, diagonal double back stitch, with wonderful diagrams on how to stitch them, as well as in the back of the book, and this is what Brian was telling me about in his comment, was that there are two patterns in the back by Darlene O'Steen. This is one. So you've got white work at the bottom that is interspersed with hardanger and cut work. Beautiful colors, as well as, I know there's, and this one is in there as well. I know there's another, I don't know whether it's another edition or maybe a second book, but there is one on eBay that is called The Proper Stitch, and I believe the cover is blue. And I want to share something with you because different ones have asked where the name Mischievous Stitches comes from. And the person who sent it sent this beautiful card that has a pattern as well as the picture of a sample on the outside, which is perfect for another stitcher. But it is the meanings behind sampler motifs. Now, we did have a sampler guild here locally. I do not think that it is still active. So I had taken a class on this years ago. And the reason I'm mentioning this today is because of the meaning behind my channel name. For years, I have been stitching since I was in my early teens. So when I found the local cross stitching group, I was the youngest of the group for years. We went on many stitch trips together, whether it be a day trips or overnight trips, and I was always up to some mischief. So flash forward about 15 years, we're in the Sampler Guild, the same stitch group that I had been palling around with for years, and we were designing a Quaker motif sampler for the guild. Everyone was responsible for choosing their own Quaker motif. Some chose the half stitch like you would see on this one on the edges. Some chose the full medallion. Mine was a squirrel. The reason I chose squirrel was because they were always telling me that I was up to mischief. And the meaning behind the squirrel is mischievousness. So there you go. Those that know me and that are in that group and they watch this, I'm sure that they remember a very eventful Fripp Island trip and the pajama party that weekend. But that's where that name come from. Mischievous Stitches come from the quilt square, not quilt square, the Quaker motif that I chose for the Sampler Guild, which means mischievousness. All right. My room. It is still a work in progress. I have done nothing at all this week. I have gotten so many great comments on the wall behind me. So I thought I might pull the camera a little closer to me this week and tell you a little bit about each piece. I'm going to start with this one, but I'm going to pull this off the wall to show you. This is new this week. This is the only edition. My friend Dawn is from Kansas, and when she was home some months ago, she went to a place and picked up this piece. And it is a commemorative print for the 150th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So this piece is very old. I love the colors. I love the frame. The glass was cracked, so I did remove it. So I need to get glass back in it. But I just love this piece. Thank you, Dawn. Gotta love a friend that knows you. I had dinner with her Thursday night. We didn't get any stitching done. She cooked dinner and we just sat around and spent some good quality time together. But I'm going to pull you closer, so grab a Dramamine and come with me. Alright, I think those two speak for themselves. This is just Mirabilia's. This is my favorite Mirabilia that I have stitched. I love her so much I don't remember her name. And like I said in my last video, after being teased about it by my friend, fall is my favorite month. Autumn is my favorite month. Autumn Queen. She is a beautiful piece. Love the colors. There are of course 4 actual patterns for the queens, but Autumn was my favorite. This was a freebie piece, and it was compiled by 3 different designers. So this is by Just Nan, the peacocks, and the far left was by Shepherd's Bush. I do not remember who designed the middle. There was also another freebie piece put out shortly after that was a Christmas piece, and I do have it, but I have not yet stitched it. This was a fun stitch. I enjoyed stitching it, but it's been many years ago. And this piece up here was my last finish of last year. I finished it, I believe, on the 28th of December. That was Joy by RATM. I did that as a stitch along in a group on Facebook. I was invited into that group by my friend Laura. These pieces I showed you several videos back. I picked these up at a local thrift shop, and they are pages out of the Ladies' Home Journal. And they're dated April 1924. Now, I had several pages. I bought 4 framed pieces and several just loose pages at that thrift shop. So the pieces that were inside, I removed those, and this was a scene, and it's a wedding scene. 1924. I think it's beautiful. The light colors, the peaches, the creams, just beautiful. And this one I think I've shown you before. This is the Sarah Spur Sampler by Carriage House Samplings. I finished that about 3 years ago. I just got it framed this year. And this is Queen of the Bumblebees. That is by Terrence Nolan. That used to be Dimples Designs. I do not know if he is still designing. I did get this piece at a Spirit of Cross Stitch Festival in 1998. I bought it, to tell you a quick little story, I bought it because when I was a little girl, my dad would put bees in his pocket, bumblebees. There were two different kinds. One has a white spot on its back and the other one doesn't. One stings and the other one doesn't. And Daddy knew which one did not sting. And as a little girl, I was too scared to catch them myself, but he would catch them and put them in his shirt pocket so that I could put my little hand in there and pull it out. And over time, I did learn which ones to grab, but now I don't remember which one it was. I recently asked my dad which one, and he doesn't even remember, but I stitched that because of my daddy. This one I've shown you as well. This is All of Our Troubles by Lottie Da. And this is Deepest Love by Mirabilia. I told you in the last video that my friend Ann had started on the head of this piece, and she was going to give up on it and give it away, and I took it home, finished it up, framed it up, and it's here on my wall. And this is a Barbara and Cheryl. That is Spring Splendor, and it's a scene from Charleston, South Carolina. So that's all I have behind me. I do have a couple other pictures on the walls. I don't think I'm going to show them to you now because there is really nothing behind this camera other than a huge TV. My husband had to have a bigger one this year. I don't get it. I can sit in my room while he's watching the news, which I hate. And I hate the news, not him or that he's watching the news, just I don't want to watch the news. And I can watch Flosstube on my Kindle and be just fine with a screen like this. And this man has to have a TV like this. So the TV that is in front of me is, can you even see my other hand? I mean, it's huge. But the switch, the on-off switch was broken and he had it repaired. But the whole premise of buying the new TV was because that one was broken, and as soon as he got the new one, he fixed the switch on this one for $25. And we can't give it away, so we're going to put it upstairs. So it's been up here since February. No one watches it. But he don't want to get rid of it because it's a big TV. It's necessary. So that's over there. I have not finished anything else for the room this week. I hope to get back to it this week to have something a little more to show you. Everyone have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy your stitching this evening. Enjoy your stitching tomorrow. And I hope to see you real soon. Hugs and stitches, everyone. Bye-bye.